In the column of history marked Most Evil Australians, the name Ivan Robert Marko Milat features prominently.
I just pulled out a revolver, and obviously all the questions was answered in one movement.
Sometimes evil hides behind a friendly smile and a helping hand. Prepare to be both disturbed and fascinated by the chilling story of Ivan Milat, one of Australia's most notorious serial killers, also known as the backpacker murderer. Ivan Robert Marko Milat was born on December 27, 1944, in Guildford, New South Wales, Australia. He was the fifth of 14 children in a large Croatian immigrant family. The Milat family was very poor and initially lived on a rural weatherboard cottage farm in Bossley Park, 36 kilometers west of Sydney. By all accounts, Milat's parents were meticulous in raising, educating, and disciplining their children and sent them all to Catholic schools. However, family relatives described Milat's father as an alcoholic with a bad temper. Many of the 10 Milat boys were well known to the local police, having grown up around guns and knives and spending their afternoons shooting at targets in their yard. According to his older brother Boris, Milat displayed antisocial and psychopathic behavior from an early age and assaulted small animals with machetes. This behavior eventually landed him in a residential school at the age of 13. Before his 17th birthday, Milat was in a juvenile detention center for theft, and at the age of 19 he was charged with shoplifting. Within the following years, he was convicted and sentenced several times for breaking and entering, driving a stolen car, and theft. On April 9, 1971, 26-year-old Milat set out on the open road in his cherished Falcon V8 to seek out hitchhikers. His journey took him to Liverpool, where he encountered two 18-year-old girls in need of a ride to Melbourne. As the girls settled into the car, Milat redirected them onto a desolate dirt road. There, he pulled out a knife and told the girls, "You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to kill you. You won't scream when I cut your throats, will you?" Milat then bound their hands and feet with nylon cord and raped one of the girls in the front seat. Afterward, Milat made an ill-conceived decision to stop at a gas station to buy his passengers a fizzy drink. At that moment, the two young women seized the opportunity to escape Milat, the man who would later become known as the backpacker murderer. Milat was charged with 2 counts of rape, but due to a sloppy prosecutor, he was acquitted. 6 years later, he attempted the rape and murder of 2 more women, but was never charged. In the mid-'80s, Milat married his girlfriend of 9 years, a girl named Karen Duck, who was 15 years his junior and had a son with his cousin. Milat treated the boy as his own child, but the marriage went south pretty quickly. As a result of the troubled marriage, he burned down the house of his in-laws. Duck testified against Milat and said her husband was known to be violent and obsessed with guns. In 1989, the divorce finally went through, and by the end of that year, 2 young hitchhikers were missing. 19-year-olds James Gibson and Deborah Everest disappeared while hitchhiking to Confest, a festival near Albury. Their belongings were found, but the couple remained missing. A month later, 21-year-old Simone Schmiedel, a backpacker from Germany, went missing when she left Sydney for Melbourne. A year later, in April 1991, a German couple, 21-year-old Gabor Neugebauer and 20-year-old Anja Habschied, vanished while hitchhiking from Sydney to Darwin. Another year later, in April 1992, 2 British backpackers, 21-year-old Caroline Clark and 22-year-old Joanne Walters, disappeared from a hostel in King's Cross, Sydney, with plans to go hitchhiking to Melbourne. On September 19, 1992, the mystery of Australia's missing backpackers was beginning to emerge in the Belanglo State Forest, just 150 kilometers southwest of Sydney, when 2 runners discovered a concealed body. The next morning, police found a second body 30 meters from the first one. Dental records confirmed the bodies were those of Clark and Walters. Both women were found face down in the dirt, with their hands tied behind their backs. An autopsy report confirmed that the 2 had been brutally slaughtered. Clark had been shot execution style, and it was believed that her body was used for target practice. Walters was sexually assaulted and stabbed 12 times, 9 times in her back, which eventually severed her spine. The remains of Clark and Walters were the first confirmation of the police's worst fear, that a serial killer was operating near Sydney. On October 5, 1993, a local man searching for firewood found the skeletal remains of Gibson and Everest in the same forest, less than a kilometer from where the first 2 bodies were found. Gibson was found in the fetal position, riddled with stab wounds. Everest had been savagely beaten. Her head was fractured and her jaw broken, and there were knife marks on her forehead. She was stabbed once in the back. The horrifying discoveries sent a shockwave through the nation and led to one of Australia's most extensive and intense manhunts. On October 12, 1993, Special Task Force Air, containing more than 20 detectives along with crime scene specialists and forensic experts, was set up by the New South Wales Police under the command of Superintendent Clive Small. Also, specially trained sniffer dogs were brought in from Queensland. In the following month, a skeleton was found during the police sweep of the forest. The remains turned out to be those of Schmiedel, and her body showed signs of a stabbing frenzy. Clothing found at the scene was not Schmiedel's, but matched that of Habscheid, who was still missing at that point. Just a few days later, the skeletal remains of Habscheid and Neugebauer were discovered nearby. Habscheid had been decapitated, and despite an extensive search, her skull was never found. Neugebauer was gagged, strangled, and shot 6 times in the head. The New South Wales government offered a reward of $500,000 for information leading to the killer's conviction, and a free pardon was offered to any accomplice not involved in the murders who would give the killer up. Eventually, more than 1 million tip-offs were received, of which police followed up 10,000 leads. The breakthrough in the case came on November 13, 1993, when a British backpacker, Paul Onions, contacted the police and told them about his escape from an unknown attacker 3 years earlier. On January 25, 1990, Onions had been backpacking in Australia, and while hitchhiking from Liverpool Station towards Mildura, he accepted a ride from a man known only as Bill. Less than 1 kilometer from Belanglo Forest, Bill pulled out a revolver and some rope, at which point he managed to flee while Bill shot at him. Onions managed to escape and went to the Bowral police to give them a description of his attacker and his vehicle. In April 1994, detectives rediscovered the note regarding Onions' call. Onions flew to Australia to help with the investigation, and on May 5, 1994, he positively identified Milat as the man who attempted to kill him. 3 weeks later, Milat was arrested, and his home, as well as the homes of several of his relatives, were searched. During these searches, the police found a lot of condemning evidence such as Schmeidel's water bottle, sleeping bag, t-shirt and backpack, a tent, bedroll and Olympus camera belonging to Clark, and her blood on a sash cord. They also found Everest's sleeping bag and a photograph of Milat's girlfriend wearing a green and white Benetton top, exactly the same as the one Clark owned. Besides the victim's personal belongings, police also found guns, gun parts, rifles, a Bowie knife, ammunition, electrical tape similar to that found at the crime scenes, and a map of the Belanglo State Forest. It seemed as though the police had a winning case, but in fact, all the mounting evidence was still circumstantial. There was nothing that put Milat in the forest at the time of the deaths. In March 1996, Milat stood trial for the 7 backpacker murders at the Supreme Court of New South Wales in Sydney. The trial was a media spectacle and captivated the nation. More than 140 witnesses took the stand, including Onion. The defense argued that there was only non-circumstantial evidence and attempted to put the blame on other members of the Milat family. Milat was confident and consistently maintained his innocence. He later stated, "I don't know who did it. It was up to them to prove my guilt, not for me to prove my innocence." On July 27, 1996, a jury found Milat guilty of 7 counts of first-degree murder and gave him a life sentence without the possibility of parole on each count. Milat received another 6 years for the attempted murder of onions. In an interview with Australian Story in 2004, Milat still proclaimed his innocence and stated that no one in his family had anything to do with the murders. In 2009, Milat cut off his finger with a plastic knife so he could mail it to the High Court of Australia to force an appeal. He was taken to the hospital under tight security, but was sent back a day later because the doctors decided surgery was not possible. In May 2011, 66-year-old Milat went on a hunger strike and lost 25 kilograms in an unsuccessful attempt to get a PlayStation. In 2019, Milat was diagnosed with cancer and was transferred to Long Bay Correctional Center to continue his sentence. On October 27, 2019, Milat died at the age of 74. Although Milat never publicly accepted guilt, before he died he is said to have told his mother, with whom he was very close, that he was the killer of the backpackers. The police maintain that Milat could have been involved in more murders than the 7 for which he was convicted. Until today, Milat is still considered a person of interest in at least 33 unsolved murders and disappearances. If you liked this video, share your thoughts on this story in the comments. And please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more stories about serial killers worldwide. Until next time, and stay safe.